So I'm on a mission to find the perfect fourplex or duplex multifamily. And in order to know what you want, you got to know what you don't want. So I want to spend a little bit of time here today talking about some things to avoid when you are looking for a multifamily. I've sold a bunch of these multifamilies in my time, and I think Central Texas has some of the best fourplexes and duplexes, but there's some things you got to look out for, particularly for my people that are going to be living in one unit and renting out the rest. It's a different mindset. It has to be more about the numbers, less about emotion. So let's dive in. So before we even go and look at the fourplexes, we want to start with financing and make sure that we're not getting a fourplex that has rents below market value. Why is that? Because if we're going to be living in it, and we're getting an FHA loan, then it has to pass the self-sufficiency test. Now, that test is to make sure that 75% of the market rents can cover the total mortgage. So reverse engineer your numbers. And if those rents don't quite add up, then you might have to put a higher down payment, or you need to find a fourplex that does have rents that can pass the self-sufficiency test. So let's start there before we even go and look at any places. So we want to avoid any fourplex that has major short-term deferred maintenance like this one. You see that little bitty AC right there? You're probably going to have to change that as soon as you move in. And this is a numbers game, right? So we want to spend as little as possible and make our overhead for our living expenses as low as possible. But if you move into a property that is immediately going to need the AC changed, then that's an issue. But here's the interesting part. There's 4 units on this particular one. One needs to be changed, but if you look at the next one, it's brand new. Then if we walk over, it's got 2 other brand new ones, with one new one being installed. So it tells me a few things. One, that little bitty one's gonna need to get changed really soon. But 2, I've got 3 other brand new HVAC systems in my fourplex. So that's a lot of money I'm gonna save on having to replace HVACs in the future. Having the bad HVAC on this particular one doesn't kill the deal for me, but there's something going on the inside that might just. So a little deferred maintenance here and there is one thing, but the big thing that you want to be looking for is foundation issues, right? Now that's going to be cracks off the wall. You'll see, right? Like we're going to be looking for cracks like that and like that. Big structural issues. Those are the type of things that we want to avoid like the plague, because this is a huge building. It's going to cost even more to get those things fixed. And if it's done in one, it's done in the other. And then the things you have to fix in one, you have to fix in all the others. So I think this one is going to be a no for us. So the next type of multifamily that we're going to want to avoid is any multifamily that is in a high crime area. This one in particular is on a really wide road. There's a lot of industrial work, but the crime rate here is actually relatively low. And then there's a neighborhood right behind it with a bunch of really older houses, but those older houses have been renovated, flipped. So that kind of tells me that this is a nicer neighborhood. The reason to stay away from a high crime neighborhood is not so much of your own safety. I mean, yes, of course, especially if you're living in it, but typically people know that those areas are not so great. And so the rents will not be going up over time. They'll be declining. And that's what we want to avoid. We would like our cost of living to become cheaper over time, not more and more expensive, especially if we're going to be adding value to the units so that we can raise the rent. We don't want the area to pull those rents right back down. So as I was leaving that fourplex, I got a call from the agent, and she told me about another issue that I think is a huge red flag that you should be on the lookout for. And it's a rather unique and sometimes rare problem, especially in Texas, but it is zoning, okay? And we're not gonna move forward with that one. This is not the right fourplex for us because of the zoning issue, especially. So for this particular one, this area is mostly zoned industrial, and that fourplex has been grandfathered in. But should something happen to that building and there be like a fire or something and they have to tear it down, she cannot build another fourplex there. And for that reason, we're out. So you always want to make sure that you check the zoning and make sure that they haven't changed the zoning for the area that that fourplex is in, and that just in case something happens, you can always rebuild your fourplex, or that it just conforms and it's not something that you have to worry about. Another issue with multifamilies that I want you to avoid is there not being enough parking. So I'm in this fourplex now. There are 4 units, of course, and I'm looking at the parking lot, and there seem to be 6 spaces. So there's not going to be enough room for each family to have 2 cars, and then you're going to end up with cars parked out on the street. And that type of thing just kind of makes the potential value of the property go down. It's not a huge deal breaker, but ideally you want 2 parking spaces for each unit. This one doesn't have 2 parking spaces for each unit, along with some of the other factors that we found a deal breaker for us. Another thing you're gonna want to avoid is multiple month-to-month leases. If you're gonna be living in one unit, then yeah, you want at least 1 month-to-month lease, or a lease that's ending soon, or just a vacant unit. But if you have multiple month-to-month leases, that means the income is uncertain. You could buy that fourplex, duplex, whatever, and the tenants could leave the same month that you get it, and now the income that you were counting on is no longer there. So you do have the option to have the seller have the tenants renew the lease. If you run into that, then just know, like, hey, we would do this deal, but it's contingent on those leases being renewed. But you want to make sure you don't have month-to-month leases on multiple units. And then to go a little bit deeper, you're going to want to make sure that you have good long-term, good standing tenants. You don't want to inherit problem tenants. It's just not worth it. So there's some stuff going on in this one that we actually do like. One of it is the appliances. They need to be updated. They're not in bad shape, but that's an opportunity to add value. If you swap these out for something that's more updated and stainless steel, then that's an opportunity for you to charge a little bit more rent. Same with the flooring. Like these floors, I don't know if you can see it, but they're not great. They're scratched up, they're warped, and they need to be swapped out. Even though they look decent, this is not expensive flooring, and it's not a lot of square footage for you to put new flooring in. That's another opportunity to add value. And the opportunity to add value is definitely another attribute that we are looking for. We don't want something that's perfect and it's gonna be static. We want something that we can come in, add a few dollars to, not a whole lot, but add a few dollars to and increase our rents by $50 to $100, something like that. Doesn't have to be a drastic increase, but there are a lot of little areas of opportunity that you can come in and make a quadplex, triplex, duplex more profitable. Real quick, we've helped tons of families buy multifamily properties in the Central Texas area. So if you're moving to Texas and you're thinking about possibly house hacking, getting yourself into one unit and having 2 to 3 other ones that you can rent out, reach out, let us know. I would love to help you reach that goal. All the contact info is in the description. We didn't find our perfect fourplex today, and that's okay because we are still on the hunt and it takes a while to find a good deal. So we're just gonna be patient. I dropped a free checklist in the description for you all that covers some of the things we talked about here and some additional information for you if you're thinking about buying a multifamily. It should be super helpful, so just click the link in the description, and that's absolutely free. If you want more information about purchasing multifamily homes in the Texas area, then check out one of the videos that YouTube thinks you'll like. It should be popping up right here next to me, and I will catch you on the next one. Peace.